France, and I didn't have time to make the beginning of this bonus feature, so here it is. Now you probably know what the Civil War is. It was the war fought between the Union and Confederate States. One of the bloodiest battles of that war was the Battle of Gettysburg. The battle took 3 days and it was a Union victory, although over 26,000 Union casualties were either killed, wounded, or went missing. The Gettysburg National Park and Museum is owned by the National Park Service of America, and it takes you through the entire history of that 3-day battle. We bought an audio tour that talked us through everything that happened from day 1 to day 3. So, without further ado, here is my journey to the Gettysburg National Park and Museum. We're now going to go over it and see the film, and then also see the cyclorama, which is a whole big painting of the Battle of Gettysburg, which took about 11 months to make.
The Confederate States of America. South Carolina demands that federal troops surrender Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor. On April 12, 1861, at 4:30 a.m., the Confederates opened fire.
None grew pale and held their breath at what we saw.
He was ready for the biggest fight of the war in the North. He believes.
Now considered the nation's most famous speech, Lincoln's 272 words redefined America.
So this is where the first Battle of Gettysburg was fought and ended. This is the North Carolina Memorial to the eternal glory of the Northern Carolina soldiers who on this battlefield displayed heroism unsurpassed. So on the Battle of Day 2, this is the map, and over here, this is where all the Confederates were, and on the other side, this is where the Union units came down, and Robert E. Lee, the general's plan was to attack them from this way, and that's where they were going to get slaughtered, which is just over here, which is where we are around this area. So on the first day of Battle of Gettysburg, Robert E. Lee got some advice from General James Longstreet to stay defensive and wait.
But on the second day of battle, Robert E. Lee refused and stayed his offensive side, and that's part of the reason why, which led to his defeat. So from here we can see where most of the battle was fought on the second day. This is just so cool. I mean, we're standing on soil that Army men from the Union and Confederate States were walking on and fighting on. And people actually, died here. I mean, like, it's just hard to imagine, like, how much strategy and, like, all the work put into it, and then actually, like, seeing it and experiencing it. I mean, this is just, like, outstanding. Wow. We have now entered the second disc of the Gettysburg audio tour. We are now on the Little Round Top, which is where the Union soldiers held their ground as Confederate soldiers advanced upward up the hill. The area that I'm seeing right now is also known as the Death Valley, or the Valley of Death. We are now what is called the Bloody Wheat Field, where 4,000 soldiers were dead or wounded. Many houses around this area were made into hospitals for the battle, and the doctors didn't know about sterilization, so they used the same tools to cut the people, which were saws. And the only way to relieve the pain for the soldiers was to bite down on a lead bullet. We are now back at the visitor center, and we didn't drive through the third day. Because it's getting dark, and that's when the visitor center closes, which is where we're going to right now. And we're going to go over and see the museum.
In order to maintain control of the roadway,
So how the Union soldiers communicated was by flag signals. So they would do a certain flag movement, and then that would decide the different letters, and then that would spell out what the generals wanted to say to the other generals.
and artillery into place. Some 150 cannon and 12,000 men from Pickett.
So after the Battle of Gettysburg, the Confederates fled back to Virginia as the Union soldiers met with them at many other battles. So right behind me is the Gettysburg Address, which is what Lincoln wrote after the Gettysburg War. He said that no soldiers died in vain. Well, that was one epic adventure. I learned so much, and it was so cool that I actually get to say that I have been to the Gettysburg Museum and Military Park. This was such an amazing trip. We are now going to go for dinner at a nearby restaurant in Gettysburg, and it seems to be the oldest building in the city. And it might have been also one of the Underground Railroad stops. And if you don't know what the Underground Railroad is, it's not a railroad. Or it's not underground either. Underground means that it was secret, and railroad means it went from place to place. And it's what the Unions used from delivering slaves, escaped slaves from different places until they could get them back into the North. We are now at the Dubin House Restaurant. So down below by the stairs there's a opening door, and that's where the escaped slaves would hide out during the Civil War. We are now at the Spring House Tavern, which surprisingly has a children's menu. Well, that was a nice dinner. And now we're heading home after our amazing day, and hope to come again.